Welcome to Updated Autopsy Report, a podcast from Yotsuben and Friends, where we replay the entire Ace Attorney series with longtime fans and newcomers. I'm your host, Ben, and with me today is Dessy.
Hello.
And two good friends of ours, Tiago.
Yo.
And Rose.
Hi.
We are all longtime fans of Ace Attorney. We hope through all of our perspectives, it'll reveal new details and provide interesting commentary for a series that's near and dear to us. Today, we're all discussing and debriefing after the whole great Ace Attorney Chronicles duology has been completed. So, I have just a few small things up front and nothing crazy, but I just figured, it's 2 weeks out from when we last wrapped up the pod on and finished these games. How we feeling now that things have had time to marinate and kind of settle? Are your opinions changing at all, or have they kind of solidified from where they were last time?
I think the wildest transformation, my wildest arc, is the fact that I am now a Sholmes fan.
Right. You're now fully Sholmes pilled.
I'm Sholmes pilled. I'm straight up investigating. I'm deducing. I'm using my logic and reasoning.
You're dancing.
Yeah.
I'm reasoning maxing.
I'm Mikotoba pilled, but I've always been Mikotoba pilled.
He's so DILF.
The problem was that I just could not fully express my Mikotoba adoration fully, the whole time, because I had to hold back that actually he's Watson the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking back to how I was like, oh man, Watson can't be dead. I don't accept it. In the first fucking episode, and I was right, motherfuckers. He's fine.
Yep, exactly. So that was
he got better.
That was kind of fun. Yeah, and now, I mean, also we can, if you want, we can bring up some things from the first game a little bit, and how some of those play into it, or occasionally don't play into the second game. But yeah, I mean, Rose, for you, did anything really change for you in the last 2 weeks as far as how you feel about it, or how we ended the last podcast is still kind of where you're at?
I do still feel pretty positive overall. I'm thinking back to it as a whole. I think there's definitely moments where I got a little wordy. Obviously I know it's a wordy game. But there were some parts where
my visual novel? No way.
Where it felt like a slog rather than a joy.
Right.
But I'm still feeling my virus and threat protection. I will not upgrade to Windows 11. I will die.
Are you sick?
I feel the same about that too. Yeah, I still feel good about it. I'm still happy. I think the things that I had that I was like, we were all discussing, right. Yeah, they had to pull the queen in. I don't know how else they would have done it, I thought about it a little more, how would I solve it? And I don't really have much to go on, so I'm not going to give them too hard of a time about that. But I still feel good about it. I had fun. I love Sherlock Holmes. So this was kind of aimed for me, and I think it landed pretty well for me. I'm happy. Still.
All right.
No change.
Yeah. Dessy, I know this was obviously your second time through the game here.
Mm-hmm.
Did anything change? Because the first time through the game, you were also watching me play it. This time we were on the Let's Play together. Did anything stick out to you differently this time around, or anything else change in your estimation of the game?
Not particularly. I was just revisiting the DILFness of a lot of the characters. Visually, just reminding myself that, yeah, even though this character's evil, he's still pretty cool looking. That would be Judge Jikoku. Right. And
we love Judge Jikoku.
Mikotoba. Yeah, Mikotoba just being that,
What? Elaborate.
hot.
That's the elaboration.
Yeah.
We can all agree
All right.
Professor Mikotoba's a DILF.
Yeah.
I don't disagree. I just thought there was more to it.
Oh, he's hot.
Okay.
Now, how it would through the latter half of the second game, at one point, I believe that there was a possible DILF demotion for Genshin, and then he got promoted back to DILFhood.
We promoted him back in. They gave him a new couple of key arts, and we were like, actually, never mind.
He took a human life.
He's got some stuff going on there.
I think it's when I was like, oh, he's got like a little ponytail. I was like, yeah.
Right.
Was it
you get
just
a little
the
bit of
ponytail
that
for you?
No, I think it was just also getting like a better picture of him.
Yeah,
because like the wax figure was just sort of. I know she worked really hard on it. Yeah, please don't hurt me, Madam. Two spells, but
but at the same time, maybe it wasn't the most flattering wax portrayal.
No, I mean, I don't know. He just died. He probably wasn't looking his best.
I think the thing that
I wonder if the this is going to be a weird deep cut conspiracy theory, but I wonder if the wax model for Genshin was actually intended as a wax model for somebody else, but then when things went differently, they had to swap it out to the last section so that
they
could
a new
fill
model.
They could fill out the Hall of Presidents. I mean, Madam Two Spells, her whole museum then in the end.
Yeah.
The Two Spell clan will not take kindly to this accusation, and you will be receiving a letter in the mail.
Right.
That's true. I think she would sue us.
I think the most cool thing about Genshin is that he straight up challenged that guy to a fucking duel.
Yeah, and he won.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's sick with it. and
he
would let him go out with honor.
Yeah.
He was pushed into a corner for like the scheme, the conspiracy to hijack him out of there once the execution quote unquote happened. But like, I don't know, he was pressured by the British government, which is evil.
Yeah.
We do know that for sure. So
yeah, I did come out of this feeling better about the British government, so that's good.
Yeah, he's back into the DILF trio.
That would be a Herculean task.
Now the evil DILF was Jigoku, but it turns out he was evil the entire time, so...
Yeah.
Right.
Nothing you could do about that.
You just had to take the evil DILF crown and move it from one character to another.
The DILF crown got passed around a lot.
God bless.
It's one
They can
crown.
share. It's fine.
Mm-hmm.
I guess one other question. This is not a question that came in from any listeners, but I was wondering, where do these games, I guess the duology, sit in your estimation of the Ace Attorney series as a whole? We might have kind of vaguely touched on this before, I think, when we were guesting on the Ultra Hope Girls podcast, but like how strong? I mean, I think we'd still probably sit the trilogy overall higher, but I was curious where you come down on it. If you what does this dethrone anything as far as one of your favorite Ace Attorney games?
I'd say it's up there, having played through it like a second time.
I love
really
how
like it.
Yeah, I like how concise it is. It's very like every case mattered.
Every case did matter, even if
and when
some
I say
of them
concise,
were too long.
that's what. Yeah, there's no like fucking Big Berry Circus here.
Yeah.
It feels a lot more tight compared to some of the stuff from other games. You see, it's so strange because like now my brain is like, all right, so there is the OG trilogy, the Investigations duology, and then there's supposed to be what is referred to as the Apollo Justice trilogy. But like we all know that it's just Apollo Justice and then 2 games they said was related to him.
Right. It is a retroactive title.
Yes.
To bundle these games up for sale. So it is a trilogy to me. Sorry, excuse me. To me, Apollo Justice, the game, feels like almost an addendum to the original trilogy. And then, sorry, excuse me again. 5 and 6 are their own thing. They're kind of their own thing. They are attempting to build on it. I think generally, I feel like it is successful in some ways and not successful in other ways, right? But I do see those games as their own thing, and also the fact that they are literally a different dimension helps separate them. So we've got a couple different bundles of games, but I wouldn't really still call it the Apollo Justice trilogy if we were forced into that.
It feels like
I don't feel like any respectable Ace Attorney fan would call it the Apollo Justice trilogy. In good conscience,
I would not know. I would say, as far as a ranking goes, I've now got so many things that I can't quite remember where they all are. Ranking has to be like 4 or less for me to recall. But
that's fine.
Don't think this unseats the original trilogy at all for me. I do like it better than a bunch of the subsequent games. I think overall I enjoyed it a little more than I enjoyed Investigations, although I did enjoy Investigations.
I like a lot of games more than I like Investigations.
Especially Investigations 2 was a little rough. Even though, again, some good moments.
I liked that they tried to do different stuff with it.
Yeah. I don't know. I still feel like Professor Layton versus Phoenix Wright it needs to go in there somewhere, because I still really like that game. And you can see the idea that becomes this game in it, and I think that's really fun. Like, I would honestly put those 3 together in a little grouping.
It was part of the reason why I wanted to include it in
Yeah.
our playthrough, and I think I've said that before, but
Yeah.
It was kind of necessary.
You can see the threads of what Shu Takumi's interested in already starting to bloom, and then he had a second chance to go at it for Great Ace.
Yeah, I feel like this might make it up to second place in my general grouping. I do feel like I did really like the Apollo Justice game in the end, despite some of its problems. But I don't feel like like we said, I don't feel like I want to include that as a trilogy. I feel like that's a standalone game. But yeah, I feel like this is up there. This is in the top 3 of clumps of Ace Attorney games for me. I just don't think it quite unseats the original trilogy, even though the original trilogy did have Big Berry Circus in it.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of a
they kick
tangent.
They kick you in the nuts so that it feels good when they give you the crown.
Okay.
What?
What does this have to do with Big Berry Circus?
What?
What the fuck are you talking?
We have to get through the slog, and then the rest of it feels amazing.
You're talking about game 2?
I'm talking about Big Berry Circus. Yeah.
I mean,
the original trilogy. I like the original trilogy, except it has Big Berry Circus, so you just.
To be fair,
you gotta think of it that way.
It's one case.
Okay. That just confused me a lot.
No, I mean, we all simply
I don't understand what the problem is.
I mean, you can understand it because that's inside your head. Your job is to express it to us who have no idea.
I'm sure
what
there'll
the
be
fuck is
people out there
going on.
that'll know what I'm talking about.
Okay, but we're
Shout out to
here.
the real ones. Shout out to the real ones.
We are here right now with you.
They won't be here for another week.
God. Anyway,
they'll catch up. Yeah, like I said, okay, this was going to be a tangent that I was going to go on, and now it's even more of a tangent because we're already far afield. But what I was going to say was Apollo Justice, the game 4, is one of those games for me that is a very flawed masterpiece, right? In that it has some stuff in it that I think is really sick and I think is really bold. And I love it when a creator comes back and just takes a fucking thwack with the golf club and hits the ball way out and just is like, well, let's just see what I can fucking do here, and it has its issues, right? But and I know people
sat down and said, "Hear me out."
Well, and I understand that like people have their disagreements about Hobo Phoenix, about whether they think that was the correct version, like correct way to take that character and that kind of thing. But I always love a fallen tragic hero. So taking Phoenix and being like, yeah, what if we scrunkle him up a little bit, is really fun to me. But it makes it really hard to place in a ranking then as a result, because it's so hard to fit it in with everything else. Whereas for me, Great Ace Attorney is really easy to put really high up on my list. I don't know if I'd put it number one, but it's really easy for me to say, oh yeah, that's easily up there. So much of it clicks all the time, right?
Yeah, the flaws are fewer comparatively.
It's also, Great Ace Attorney is also a game that I would say is very much a ramp of a game, right? It kind of starts a little slow. You have a lot of setup in game one, and then it kind of starts to really blast off in game two, and all of that track that they've laid all of a sudden now is being used up as it starts kind of flying down the rails. I think that also is it's a huge benefit that we got to play these games in the US, in the West here, at the essentially at the same time, right? We get to play them back to back, and we did not have to wait several years in between
for 2 years or whatever.
So you the second that you get to that cliffhanger at the end of game one, and you go, what the fuck is this list about? You can start diving right into game two, and that helps a lot, I think, also in the overall estimation of the game.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god, my dog is losing it in the background. So sorry.
That's fine.
She's out of it, and she's like, wow.
I do really like these games. I think these are... I don't know if I'd ever be able to recommend these as a starting point to Ace Attorney, but if someone told me they started off with Great Ace Attorney, my response would be like, yeah, that makes sense. They're great games.
Mm-hmm.
I like them more than I like the 3DS duology of Dual Destinies and Spirit of Justice. But that's because Spirit of Justice is a stinker.
Spirit of Justice is still my least favorite. But
yeah,
This was not even close.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of the Apollo Justice game, so I rank that pretty highly. And of course, the OG trilogy is a lot. But also, the Professor Layton game had my goat Professor Layton in it, and my friend Luke Triton.
I really liked the Professor Layton
to play
game.
Through all those games.
I
liked the puzzles.
I did actively become the resident Layton expert in order to play that game. So
yeah, sure did.
I loved the introduction of the jury system.
Muppets.
The Muppets. We love the Muppets. Are weird. Like
Muppets became part of our
tree.
vocabulary because of that game.
Yeah, Muppet added to vernacular.
Yeah, it altered our vocabulary, just like Ace Attorney 2 did.
Yes, absolutely. The fire extinguisher.
Anytime somebody forgets something now, we always are like, who got you with the fire extinguisher?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I feel pretty great about these games. I don't know. I don't have much to say about that.
Yeah, we still feel good, I guess, is the good news. If anyone was wondering if we weren't still feeling good, we definitely still are.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Is Attorney still good?
Is Attorney good?
Yeah. We did get some questions here, so I'm going to start mixing those in here with our discussion.
Oh, that's so funny to me that people want to ask us questions.
It's very sweet. So,
I love it.
We have an email from Spear, who says here, hello, updated Autopsy report. Congrats on finishing the entire Ace Attorney series. Truly loved listening to this podcast from start to finish. I really appreciate that Professor Layton versus Phoenix Wright and Ghost Trick were included as well.
Hell
Can't wait for whatever is coming next. And so they asked, I would like to know if the crew has any favorite songs from the Great Ace Attorney duology, or if there were any moments where the music was particularly memorable. I know the music was touched on sometimes in the podcast, but would love to hear your guys' final thoughts on it.
I think this is one of the ones we talked about, but the actual like Dance of Deduction that we got, I did quite like the sound the soundtrack for that one.
Dance of
final
Deduction
one.
of Real.
Dance of Deduction parentheses real.
Parentheses real, yeah.
That was nice. I liked it. I got excited. I got kind of jazzed up when it was happening. I was doing a little shimmy.
It is.
The tap dancing was cute. I have done tap dancing in the past.
The tap dancing was cute, and then it was like, all right, bro.
I was like, I don't know why you're doing it, but like, I kind of get it.
He's a gamer.
He's dancing in deduction.
Sometimes I get really bored, and I do little tippy taps. You know?
Yeah, I think it was. If I remember correctly, it was just one of those. And I apologize. Please don't hold me to this. If anybody, I don't have time to research this one to be 100% sure. But I believe that was a collaboration between the composer and Shu Takumi. Like, it was one of those things where the composer was like, I think this might sound good with some tap dancing, you know, and it's a dance of deduction. And Takumi was like, okay, that sounds good. What if we did some tap dancing animations for Mikotoba, right? So I think it was kind of a little bit of a reverse implementation of that as opposed to coming top down. But I don't, like I said, don't hold me to that one. I don't have the reference material for that right in front of me.
Actually,
can I say something right now that's kind of embarrassing?
Yeah.
I realized through that sentence
space.
that the reason he was tap dancing was because this is a dance of deduction.
A dance of deduction, yeah.
I didn't get that the first time.
Yep. Well, I mean, everybody twirls around and kind of spirals, right?
Yeah, no, it's okay. I sometimes don't get things until years
goes on
later.
them like they're on the stage, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's the most literal implementation of it for sure.
I think there are two themes that stand out to me. Theme of Susato, fantastic, wonderful, baller theme. And the other one that I enjoyed a lot was theme of Enoch Drebber. That like weird, confusing, like mysterious theme he had. That was like, it's almost like whimsical, but like parentheses evil.
I enjoyed his whimsical yet sinister vibes.
Yeah, exactly. He was just like singing that song. Playing was like, I don't know what's going on with this dude, but I know it's gonna suck.
He's like a fae folk.
Yeah.
I felt like I also, even though like I don't know if it was my favorite tune, but like Iris's little like theme, whenever it played, I was like, I'm like safe. I'm in a safe area.
That's my friend.
That's my friend.
Like, if that makes sense. Like, I had an attachment to it because I was like, yeah, okay, we're back in our apartment.
Right. It's a very bouncy tune. Yeah. Right. It is the
theme of 10-year-old girl.
Yeah. Yes. I'm safe now. Nothing bad will ever happen to a 10-year-old girl.
I can say anything here.
Yeah, no, I agree. Those are all pretty good. Yeah, to reiterate on the Susato theme, it's so good that we get like 5 versions of it throughout the entire game, right?
I was gonna say I like Susato's theme and Cosmo's theme and how they get twisted and used around in different ways.
I like OG Cosmo theme, but I feel like the motifs on it didn't quite hook me the way the OG theme did, but that's because I thought he fucking died. I thought he was dead, and now that he's back, I'm like, whatever, that's just your theme.
Right.
nothing,
yeah, I
nothing
mean, I think I said it on the episode, so I realize I'm repeating myself, but I love his prosecutor theme when they reiterate it. I also really enjoy Susato's theme when it gets turned into the Ryutaro objection theme for her when she's in court, which is really good. Really good version of it. Yeah, one of the things that's really fun also is we get like only maybe like 2 to 3 plays throughout the entire like latter half of the game of the Dance of Deduction Real song, Partners, the game is afoot is the title of that one. That plays once when they reveal that Mikotoba is Watson, basically, once when they dance, and I think they play it one more time a little bit later when Sholmes shows up in court.
I think that's when happened.
They play it like one more time, but that song only gets played like 3 times. They make a new courtroom theme for the late section of that game as well, right? Yeah, for that final case, they have a new courtroom theme that plays. They have a new lobby theme that plays. It's
well,
just
we do have
really...
a new judge.
Right. But it's just nice to spend...
New judge.
Yeah. It's just nice to spend that effort and time to really sell that, oh yeah, shit got real, right? Like this is it, giving you brand new themes and music that play, just a handful of times at the end here, which usually in Ace Attorney, it is very rare to get a theme that only plays like 1 or 2 times. Instead, you are trying to get as much bang for your buck out of each song, and we are going to find ways to reuse themes for different people, like say Lotta Heart's theme, right? Which originally was just her theme, but then gets kind of repurposed as any energetic NPC's theme, right? And shows up multiple times throughout the trilogy for other people, not just Lotta Heart.
Theme of peppy character.
Right. So, yeah, that's kind of nice as well. The latter half of Spear's question here also mentions, have you guys considered doing another concept art stream, but for the Great Ace Attorney duology? I thought that stream was super fun, and I think the art for these games is some of the most interesting in the whole series, especially with the comments from Kazuya Nuri included in the in-game art gallery. And yes, Spear, this is something I've been wanting to do. We have just had a hard time scheduling recently because our lives have been crazy.
I moved into a new apartment.
The world is falling apart around us.
Yeah, but we will do it at some point. I don't know when, but we will do it. And because we also have not done concept arts streams for anything past the original trilogy.
A lot of concept art to look at is what I'm hearing.
Oh my goodness. There is concept art for Professor Layton versus Phoenix Wright that will literally melt some of your guys' minds.
Oh my god, I need that right now.
And there's some art for Great Ace Attorney as well that shows some of the alternate character designs like before they were finalized. That is just insane. So yes, I will have to dig around and put together that at some point here over the next month or two, and hopefully we can make that happen and put that up on the YouTube channel, because yes, we would love to do that, and I would love to shatter everybody's minds, because if you have ever wondered what Phoenix Wright and Maya look like in Professor Layton's art style, or what Professor Layton looks like super realistic in the Phoenix Wright art style, you get to see versions of that in that concept art. It is because they were exploring, like, how do we make these characters look good on the screen at the same time? They were debating that, and they drew them in a whole bunch of different styles, and it's crazy. So yes, I would love to do that at some point. We will try to do that eventually. But I think overall we feel, good about the music about Great Ace Attorney. I think it is one of those games that I still come back to the soundtrack just on its own, just to listen to it pretty often. And I really love the orchestral versions that they have put out as well. Capcom has done a couple concerts in which they, have arrangements and medleys of a bunch of the different themes from the whole series, but they've started to expand and do longer medleys for the Great Ace Attorney versions. And those are really fun. So you can seek those out on YouTube if you've never heard them before, or, or buy the CDs. I'm sure there are still ways to get those too. But
what's a CD?
I think Capcom has 1 or 2 of the concerts just up on YouTube, I think, maybe. I forget. It's something like that. Maybe it's fans hosting them now, but there's ways to watch that stuff if you want to.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, let's see here. We also got an email from Mark, who sent a very, very nice email, saying how much they enjoyed the podcast. It's actually a little too long for me to read here, but they also gave me some recommendations for Ace Attorney fan projects that they found really compelling. So I put those in my notes. Maybe we'll look at those one day. So thank you, Mark, for your wonderful email. I wanted to shout that out, even if I can't read it here.
Thank you.
But
you should share it with us so that we can read it.
Yes, I will.
Off the air.
We also got another email from Anthony, who said, you are forced to defend one of the culprits in court as their attorney. You can pick any culprit from the entire series, but you must perform your job to the best of your ability. Which culprit do you choose and why?
I'm choosing Acro.
Yeah, I was gonna say yeah, I know what Tiago's picking.
I'm literally the number one Acro defender, and I'm also the number one. Oh my god, I forgot his fucking Godot. Holy shit, I almost forgot his name.
Godot, yeah.
I love that guy.
I would defend both of them, even though I know damn well they fucking did it. But listen, they both went through some shit.
I think I could get olive green. I think I could do something there.
Yeah.
I would defend her to the best of my ability.
True.
The instinct would be to pick one of the clients that we some of the clients that we
sympathize
know
with.
Are that we sympathize with. Obviously, 90% of the clients that you defend in Ace Attorney are innocent already, but that doesn't mean it's easy.
No, I just think that I could get it. I could at least get it talked down to manslaughter.
Same. Including Acro, who definitely planned that attack.
I think there's a couple people that could probably.
Yeah, I could actually talk a lot of shit down to manslaughter.
Now, I want to make sure. I guess I unfortunately can't ask Anthony for clarification here, but they do use the word culprit. You are forced to defend one of the culprits in court as their attorney.
So that's somebody who actually did the crime. That's what Tiago and I are thinking.
Yes. So yes, somebody who actually did the crime. Yeah, I wanted to make sure I had that fully. So yes, olive green. Acro, right.
Well, she didn't even actually kill anybody, so maybe I'm doing a cop out a little bit, but also like.
But she really, really wanted to.
I mean, she did attempt. She
wasn't necessarily the culprit of that case, though. The culprit of that case was William Shamspeare.
Right.
I mean, she did attempt to kill him.
Yeah, but she got like a slap on the wrist. She's fine.
Well,
what do you want?
I would still defend her.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we're still going to defend her.
Right.
I'm just saying that.
All right.
Acro,
somebody who actually killed some people.
What about? I would maybe go for. I'm trying to think here. Maybe
somebody hit him with the fire extinguisher.
Wrighton from Case 1 of Game 2, Greatest 2, the reporter.
Oh yeah, I mean
because he's a bad person. He's not a good person, right? But he did kill an evil assassin from another government, right?
Or he's the Luigi Mangione of Ace Attorney.
That's
damn. Allegedly. There's no evidence of I did anything wrong.
Yeah.
So like I think Wrighton would be somebody who you could make a case for him, right? For why.
Yeah, I feel like there's definitely some people
extrajudicial assassins in our country. He was just, cleaning things up.
Taking out the trash.
There's definitely some people where it's like this is self-defense.
Yeah, 100%. Like, listen, it's so strange that in Game 1 there isn't like,
a self-defense clause.
It's still murder. Murder is still murder.
Accidental murder is still murder.
Even if it's accidental or even if you're a child.
Yeah, never kill when you're a child. That's what I learned.
Right.
Yeah, let's prosecute this fucking 8-year-old to the fullest extent of the law. Put this 8-year-old in the clink for life.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anybody else.
It's hard to think about all the games at once here.
Yeah, I like pulled up a list here now that I'm looking at. Looking at the list of
who definitely just did self-defense on there. I think I can pull it off.
Yeah, I see olive green on here, on this list. We've got oh man, I'm blanking on his name now. These are just.
I can just Google stuff now. I'm free.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, you guys can Google.
You're burdened by knowledge.
Yippee! You can hear me typing.
Yeah,
attorney
the
cases.
rapper from the DLC case. Of,
the whale guy.
Killer Whale. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, you could definitely defend him.
Or God, the widower the widow, excuse me, in Ace Attorney 6 from Kurain, who was she was the rebel.
Oh, the rebel leader?
Oh, yeah.
Well, she wasn't the rebel leader, but she was married to the guy, and then he fucking offed himself.
Oh my God, I'm so bad at names.
Dude, I mean, it doesn't help that it's from Kurain. Like, it's gonna be some ridiculous pun that we don't like.
So I can say it.
Unfortunately, the only list I can find is on fucking fandom wiki. I fucking
I know.
hate.
We're putting our line in the sand right here, right now.
Yeah.
Fandom wiki.
His wife, believe in me. God,
there's
right.
no
Believe
way I was gonna know that.
Her.
Oh yeah, because his name was Trust in Me, right?
Because his name was Trust in Me. Yep.
I hate the puns in that game too, but not as much as I hate fandom.com.
Fandom.com, watch your fucking backs.
You can't get to them through their fucking 6,000 ads.
Yeah, I was gonna say they would be able to prevent me from getting to them with all their pop-ups and stupid advertisements and bad formatting and oh my God.
I use that extension that wipes it clean basically. Or it also if it has an alternative in its database, it'll send you to an alternative better fan wiki.
This doesn't have a list of the actual killers on here either.
Gross.
Disgusting.
I said my answer.
I think those are at least some decent options to go with to start with. But yeah, I'm seeing somebody else's list here. I found somebody else's opinions on this list. What about D. Vasquez? The Steel Samurai case.
Oh yeah,
like
her.
The noir lady from game 1-3.
Yeah.
She's
kind of obviously she did a murder, but it might have been an accidental manslaughter, right? And she was, I mean, obviously she was still not a good person.
She covered up that she had accidentally killed the person, but I don't know if we would have enough evidence that she premeditated a murder.
Yeah, if we're just trying to get somebody off scot-free, we're close enough to it.
I will try to the best of my ability to get Olive Green off scot-free.
Yeah. Olive Green's a really easy one.
Even if it wasn't.
I don't want to say easy, but, she's a good one. She's a good one. I see Nicolina on here as well.
The little Russian girl who didn't do it?
Yeah, she straight up didn't do it.
Yeah, I don't know if she counts.
She's not really a culprit.
And also, we don't really prosecute her in court. We just kind of yell at her on a boat.
For something she didn't fucking do.
Enough, right?
Well, it made that she did harm him.
Yeah, she did push him.
And he did fall and he did hit his head.
As somebody who's had siblings, I sometimes push them too without the intention to kill them.
Such is life.
What's your
Sometimes
point?
I push them with the intention to kill them, but, sibling things.
Yeah.
I'll defend you too.
Thank you.
I think we've hit most of the sympathetic ones anyway.
Yeah, I've said my answer. I knew my answer as soon as I got the question.
Yeah, and some of them weren't sympathetic. I don't know if D is sympathetic. I just don't think she did a murder. Or at least I think I could prove that it's possible that she didn't do a murder.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
She's still probably guilty of criminal negligence, but I think I could make it work.
Mhm,
Not that that
mhm.
idea exists in Ace Attorney, because everything is just like, yeah, accidental murder is still murder. So, fuck.
You do the best you can.
Yeah.
under the dark age of the law.
The fucking dark age of the law. I still think it's crazy that people were running around being like, in the Apollo Justice, being like, it's the dark age of the law. Like, the fuck are you talking about? Like, the dark age of the law was definitely like Manfred von Karma and Chief Gant. Like,
Right.
Mm.
I'm not just saying that because I like their characters. I genuinely am like, what the fuck? Come on.
Mhm.
The ends justify the means, though.
The ends justify the means, you say?
Yeah.
That sounds bad.
I don't
U.S.
know.
military be like,
Is that going to hold up in court? I guess it
I'm
did.
pretty sure it doesn't.
Yeah, you're right. It didn't.
I will make it legal.
I will make it legal.
Yeah. Well, all right. If nobody else has any other candidates, then for that,
I
we just really
responded
went on a
immediately.
big old ramble there.
that's fine.
That's what we do.
So true.
This is a bit of a ramble cast. So, okay. Well, I do have one more email here, and this is from Jay. Hello, UAR. I have really enjoyed your series on the AA franchise. I have a swirling mass of questions and thoughts in my head, but I will try to file it down to just a couple relevant ones. Question 1. It feels to me like Shu Takumi's style changed a lot over the years. In my opinion, Great Ace Attorney Chronicles feels a bit more like a visual novel than an in-depth mystery game. Not entirely, just more so. What are your thoughts or insights? I guess, do you think that his style has changed from his first couple games to Great Ace Attorney? Because I see what Jay is saying here about how sometimes it feels a little more, when I suspect when they're saying that it feels more like a visual novel, that it probably feels more linear, right? There's a little less bopping around between locations, it feels like, in Great Ace Attorney. You often know exactly where you need to go and who you need to talk to, right?
I agree with that.
And it's more of just hitting those talk to everybody points. Although,
Right.
God knows, in the first couple of games, we hit our roadblocks in that department as well. Of just like, who the fuck do I talk to? Where do I go? And it's just, hey, I need to finish this dialogue tree in the first room that you missed before the game will progress.
It was pretty interesting, the fact that like the duology on the 3DS had like the check your notes section so you can remember where you're at, but in Great Ace Attorney that wasn't really required.
No,
It was
they
pretty
did not
linear.
have that.
They did not have that.
Yeah, you mean 5 and 6 having the notes stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that felt like, they were trying to add something different to the game, right? They were trying to add another feature to see if they could tweak the formula, but it didn't actually really manifest. Like the actual literal gameplay was still the same. It was more just like, oh, here's a little extra pointer along the way for a direction you should head if you're lost,
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't know. As far as like Takumi's style changing, I can definitely feel that, like, yes, he probably feels the same pull that basically every video game has felt, which is bigger, more, everything.
Well, there's
right?
more space on those cartridges now, I'll tell you what.
Right. That's true. And then we talked about the limitations of them trying to squeeze in, characters and sprites on some of those old Game Boy Advance cartridges for the original trilogy.
And
so
we
there
had
was always
Gumshoe.
yeah.
I'll
There was
never
always
forgive
a
them.
ceiling. Yeah, there was always a ceiling there. But yeah, I mean, so yes, he's gotten more verbose. There's definitely been more to the game, more writing, more talking. As far as his style, I mean, it definitely, I don't know. I see his Takumi-isms that were in game 1 still crop up, right, in Great Ace Attorney, you know. The way that he writes jokes, he really loves the three-peat joke. It's something we brought up a lot on the Let's Play, which was like, he will have a character do a bit, like an NPC will do the bit, and then sometimes like Phoenix will like kind of mock the bit, and then you'll either have like the judge or Edgeworth accidentally do that same bit, and then they'll be like, oh, I can't believe I just did that, you know, if it's Edgeworth or whatever, right? They'll do that the joke 3 times, and then you know, kind of thing, and then we move on from it. He really likes that pacing of style of joke, and I see that crop up all the time. Where you'll hit that bit 3 times, and then we wrap it up and we move on from it. Or you make it a long running joke, right? Like the stepladder bit. And yeah, as far as writing style, we're always filtered through the localization, right? And so the localization obviously does their best to have a house style and also capture the writer's original intent as well as best as possible, and while bringing it over English. So it's sometimes tough to like see the exact intonation in the same way it was in the original Japanese, right? It's just, you're always going to have some slight differences there, but I don't know. I for sure he has matured as a designer and a director, right? Because I can tell sometimes where he will he used to always describe that he puts everything into his games, right? And he said that for pretty much everything in the original trilogy, and also in Great Ace Attorney. In all the interviews, he always says like, I just put every idea I have in there, right? And he just fills it up. But then for Great Ace Attorney 2, there was some stuff where after that he basically said like, well, I had to change some things. I had to cut some things down, or I had to adjust things due to budgetary constraints, or due to, you know, us going from game 1 to game 2 and the fan reaction, you know, I changed things. So there was definitely some editing coming through there that, who knows, was that production, you know, like the producer saying like, hey, you need to adjust this, or was that him hearing the reaction and deciding to do it himself? Hard to say without asking the man himself. But I don't know. I think he has stayed true to his artistic stylings way more than a lot of other designers and writers. But you know, there's definitely been some change over the years, I think.
Yeah,
that was a long ramble.
I definitely know what you mean about like the mainstays of his thing, including like the 3P joke, the entire courtroom getting on the attorney's case about a really minor bit.
Yeah.
I feel like sometimes these characters are written in a way that like they can only be described as an Ace Attorney character. And that is like integral to the Shu Takumi writing.
Yeah. Sometimes he was asked a couple times, like, is there a character that you put yourself into the most? And this was before Great Ace was out, I believe, this interview. And he just said, oh, it's Phoenix. He's like, Phoenix is just like kind of how I write and think. Like, he's kind of just me. You know, he's just like, I just kind of write him that way. And what he's thinking is usually like my first gut thought about something that I just wrote. So if I write an NPC saying something wacky and Phoenix has a sarcastic thought, it's usually just, that's my first sarcastic thought about the thing I just wrote.
That definitely makes sense, given how much Phoenix does like an aside to us. Sort of like a Shakespeare character, you know. You turn around and
turns to the audience, and
you do like your little aside just to the audience, and Phoenix does so much of that, you know, you kind of can't help but feel like, yeah, this is just someone's stream of consciousness a little bit here.
Right.
But it's fun to think about it as like, man, like critiquing his own stupid ass jokes.
Yeah, it's fun. Jay has a second question, which is, is there any known quantity in the gaming world today, aside from previous Ace Attorney lead creators, who you believe could take Ace Attorney forward into the next generation? This is a really hard question.
I would need to know any information to answer that question.
My gut instinct was sweary, and I can't let that happen.
We have to stop it. We can't let that's one thing I do know, is that we can't let that happen.
Here's the thing. I love sweary games. I love Suda 51 games. They can't touch this. They live in their own box, and then Shutakumi lives in this box.
Yeah.
I can't
have those two boxes open at the same time.
But part of me goes, what would happen if it
Your mashed potatoes and your corn can't touch each other.
What if Phoenix Wright had to defend Travis touchdown?
That would be a nightmare.
He would not be able to. He was like, he killed tens of other people, but not this guy in particular.
Right.
Yeah, it would have like predicated on like, okay, so you're definitely going to get in trouble for these other murders, but I guess you didn't do this one, so I'm defending you.
Yeah.
Go ahead, sorry.
The thing about it though is that like I just simply don't know that many like creatives who
Right. I mean, Shutakumi is such a distinctive. Like we just talked about how like Shutakumi's voice is so distinctive, right?
Yeah.
So it's really hard to imagine another writer or creative taking over the franchise. I mean, Yamazaki, when he worked on, the investigation series, like, he worked on Ace Attorney 4 and got to do some writing on that in an assistant role, and then got moved over to Ace Attorney Investigations for the spinoff and directing that and writing that fully. And like, that's like an ideal scenario, is that you have somebody underneath you who kind of gets this house style, quote unquote, and can work on it and come up through it. And like in a better world where we got more Ace Attorney games more regularly, who knows, we might have still had Yamazaki at Capcom and he might have improved significantly, and we might be on Ace Attorney 8 and being like, those first couple games are kind of rough, but hey, he worked it out, and he was able to start to make things happen, right? Unfortunately, after 6, things kind of stagnated for a bit, and he went and left the company and did other stuff. I'm genuinely not sure what he's up to now. So yeah, you kind of have to look back. It would be nice if there were a bigger bank of writers, of assistant writers who had worked under either Yamazaki or Takumi, who you could shepherd up, into head roles. I mean, I think that's an ideal scenario, but it, unfortunately, because the series has been kind of quote unquote dormant for a bit, it has always been a very singular voice. And Takumi never really had a protege or anything like that. So there's not a lot of people who could just come in and just start doing that same thing. You'd need to let new blood come in and kind of do a whole new take on it that's gonna have to, by necessity, feel very different from the usual Ace Attorney. And will people want to go with that? That's hard to say, right? I mean, the ideal scenario is, to me anyway, is Takumi gets to go do some original games that are not Ace Attorney off on this side, and then a bunch of new blood at Capcom takes over Ace Attorney and brings it in a new direction, right? That to me, that would be the ideal scenario, but it's hard to know if that will happen. We still do not know, as of this recording, what the future of the Ace Attorney series is, aside from crossovers and Street Fighter 6, or whatever. And maybe we'll get some Ace Attorney and Monster Hunter one day.
Oh hell yeah!
As an addendum, I think the only like person I would be hyped for would be, I had to look it up because god damn it, y'all got me looking up shit now. Masakazu Iguchi, Mr. Famous, who wrote the Soba case in Spirit of Justice, aka
the Soba case, Mr. Famous.
I want to give that man.
My did Turnabout Storyteller and Turnabout Time Traveler, and I was going to bring his name up because, like, yes, he worked on Game 6. and he did 2 cases there. So that's not nothing. That's more experience than a lot of other writers. And I don't know what he's up to right now.
The thing about him in particular is that, like, if he had control over the entire game, it would be inherently different from a Ace Attorney game done by Shitakami, because, like, knowing his writing style, he would separate all these shit. I don't know if there would be a fucking through line. It might just be like an anthology game where, like, there's 5 cases and they're all weird.
Well, a little anthology might not be a bad way to sort of feel things out, you know?
Get a couple people in there, let a couple different people work on it.
See how that shakes out, and then say, we like these characters, let's tie it in, you know?
Yeah.
I looked up Iguchi's Moby Games credits here, and according to Moby Games, the last thing he worked on that at least was public was Exoprimal for UI design.
That's so strange.
Well,
so he's
putzing
around, I guess, still at Capcom there, which is but yeah, he wasn't doing any writing there.
He's still employed.
But he seems to still be at Capcom, I think.
We love a guy who's still employed.
Yeah. I think the other name from Game 6 that we could pull up theoretically would be Hironao Fukuda, who he wrote the Monstrous Turnabout, which was case 2, and he wrote the Magical Turnabout, I believe. I don't think that's necessarily 100% confirmed, but I think people have puzzle pieced it together that he's the most likely one to have written the Magical Turnabout, which is the Trucy case in that game, which I think is one of the better cases in Game 6 overall. Now he has left Capcom, though, is the thing. So he's no longer at Capcom. He's now at Sega, and he worked on scripts for Judgment and Lost Judgment, the kind of the other games from the Yakuza team, that was also starring a lawyer as the main character. Mm-hmm. So he's got some of that experience there. He wrote some side story stuff and worked on the DLC, I think, as one of the lead writers on the DLC. So, he wasn't like leading that game, but he was working on it, right? And helping buff out, the story and script for that as a whole. So, I think that would be another candidate if you were to re-recruit him back into Capcom. But who knows? He could be working on a Judgment sequel, whatever's coming out.
Judgment.
Whatever's coming out next from them if they're making another one of those. But there's a few people out there, but yes, it's unfortunately a very small pool of people. You could go to other visual novel writers and directors, or adventure game writers, but again, very different styles, right? So you'd be getting a vastly different game. We liked Paranormal Sight quite a bit. I was quite fond of that game. And Takanori Ishiyama, he was working very hard for many years on Japanese exclusive. They never came out here. Mobile visual novels, right? And his first ever game that was localized for America was Paranormal Sight, which leans more visual novel than adventure game, but it has a few, additional mechanics on top of the visual novel stuff. The 3D looking around stuff is kind of fun. But he's very, he has a very different style, and he probably wants to do his own thing, right? If you're having success doing your own thing, why come in and be, on the ground for a reboot for a series that's been going for years and years, and you have this huge fandom expectation, on top of you, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, I don't know. It's a very, I don't envy anybody like a producer inside Capcom who's trying to figure out how the hell do you get the series to keep going if Takumi doesn't want to anymore, right? I think that's a tough thing to figure out. I hope they can. Mm-hmm. I really hope they can. I'd be, whenever they do eventually announce a new Ace Attorney game, I'd be really interested to see who's on staff, because that'll be really interesting to see how that all shakes out. So
I heard a cat.
That was Luke.
Yep, that was the kitty cat.
Meow.
We do have one last question from Jay before we wrap up here. And this is actually, he actually says, Jay says, this is not a question.
Sick.
I wound
Wait a
up
second.
I wound up not liking / forgiving Kazuma Asogi. I'm sure it has a lot to do with the pacing of the games, but he nearly became an assassin. Plus, his decision to prosecute at the end of the game felt game motivated rather than character motivated. At the end of Chronicles, I was like, yeah, fuck this guy. I don't need to see him again. Anyway, thanks for the great series, and I look forward to the future. Signed, Jay.
Bye.
So how's that's an interesting take. I can absolutely see how somebody would land that way on Kazuma.
I'll defend Jay's take.
Because he did sign up for an assassin job.
Yeah,
and was like, well, you know what? Actually, that doesn't sound too bad. Maybe I could assassinate some people. They fucked over my dad. Why
I was
not?
gonna say they did kind of just screw his dad over really bad.
Yeah. No. I just found myself a little like, come on, what the fuck, man?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He had to become a prosecutor so that Susato could go back with Ryunosuke.
Mm-hmm.
He made a noble sacrifice.
I think, personally speaking, you could make the case that, like, Kazuma Asogi was never going to do any of these murders. In fact, that was the specific reason that he brought Ryunosuke with him, was to keep his moral check aligned, like his morals aligned.
Mm-hmm.
On the other hand,
I'm going to bring my boyfriend with me to make sure that I only kill evil people.
Yeah, to make sure that I behave.
I'm going on this assassin study tour, buddy. You got to make sure
because
I don't go too evil on my assassin study tour. Thank you.
There's definitely like a throwaway line where he says, like, "Yeah, I wasn't really planning on doing it. I was planning on betraying them the entire time," and like, that's easy to say, but is it easy to execute? Like, I don't know.
I don't care that he was gonna kill somebody. I'm just sort of like, fucking hell, man.
Yeah, I mean, he was losing
it.
He was losing it because he was blinded by rage.
I guess.
Rage. But
yeah, I feel like I agree that the pacing didn't do it any favors.
Oh, absolutely not. Kazuo needs to be introduced back in like the first case of that game in order to
remember this guy that we killed.
Yeah, it's just I still have the bad taste in my mouth from like how upset I was that he had died and how I felt like it was like a comment on like the random nature of like senseless violence and accidents, and then they were just like nuh-uh. And so even though like that was, I was still just like, come on, man.
His character is almost better if he did fucking die. Like, for him to be brought back to finish this like arc of his, I think it would have been more interesting that we were able to finish it posthumously. You know what I mean? Like being able to do research and do like find out what he was planning to do and stuff like that. That would have been an interesting way to end the game, in which that like we had to investigate back into whatever Kazuma's plans were. But I understand, most popular boy, we gotta bring him back, yada yada. I don't envy the decision.
I mean, yeah, that was definitely part of it, right? Is that after the first game, fans were so fond of him that Takumi decided to alter the story to bring Kazuma back, right? So that was a big like fan demand kind of thing influencing his creative decisions. I would like you to enter my dream palace here, in which we imagine we go back to forget game 2, and we just go back to game 1, right? So Kazuma dies, we are at the end of game 1, right? And we get that list. Which now we know is a list of assassins and targets, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, what if we continued into game 2? Story mostly goes the same as it did, but Kazuma does not come back, and now we instead have this list colored with, this was a man who was gonna come to London and gonna become an assassin, and now he can no longer make any statements like, oh, I wasn't actually going to kill people, or oh, I wasn't going to. Instead, now we only have the memory of he signed up for the assassin exchange program and then couldn't do it. He died because he died. A freak accident like took him out of it and, halted this revenge.
I think then it would
tale
be more
for
of a
him.
story on the resolve of Ryunosuke being his best friend. Like how much
I'm just interested.
Yeah,
Ryunosuke
then our
would probably be like,
mystery.
no, he would never do that.
Yeah, our mystery would be, would he have done it? Was he, and in that
Right.
case, I can see myself defending him and saying like, no, I bet he's gonna pull one over on him,
Yeah, I just wonder if it would have been if it would have been more interesting or less interesting, right? That way. And here's the thing. We get given that list at the end of the game, but to my knowledge, Takumi has never said publicly if he had decided what that list meant by the end of game 1. Right? So it could have been I'm putting down some train track, but hell if I know what train's running on it yet, right?
Yeah.
I'm making this list and I'm going to figure out what the reveal to this list is later because it's just a good cliffhanger. Who knows? Maybe he knew. Maybe he knew the whole time. I'm purely theorizing
With the
here,
build
right?
up to it, I almost hope so.
I'm just theorizing, right? But it is one of those things where, I think something would have had to be different. Also, in addition, if Cosmo had not come along, if Cosmo had not come back, excuse me, we would have had to have some other twist on it because otherwise, I do think that the assassin list, if that was indeed the original intent the whole time, would have felt a bit unresolved because it would have just been down to, do I think that my friend would have really done this, right?
I mean, it would have left a mystery in the hanging in the air,
sure.
and Lord knows that we don't have other mysteries that we definitely should be left in the air.
They left a mystery in the air between games, and Japan got really mad.
Japan got really mad, but I think they should. Like, I think that is totally valid.
For the cliffhanger, yeah. I mean, it was a fairly vocal contingent. I don't want to say that all Japan got mad, but the reception once game 2 happened, it turned around, right? People are like, oh, okay, it all clicks together now. All right, yeah. So once people got the second half, the reception turned much more positively now. I don't know. I think that is kind of a rough estimation of things. Did anybody else have anything last on that?
No.
That tangent?
Nah.
Okay. I will say this is me digging into one last thing here before we wrap up, which is we did get some comments along the way during these, as we were playing through these games, that we were perhaps other folks were way higher on, say, Sholmes or Van Zieks as characters than we were, right? Until the ending, in which, a lot of things changed, right? I think that's all I wanted to say to folks is sometimes that's just part of the journey, right? Is sometimes you feel bad about a character and then something at the end happens.
Yeah, we don't know what you know. Well, now we do, but we didn't at the time.
And also, to be clear, and this is me being on the soapbox a little bit, but part of loving something is criticizing it too. The art of critique is sometimes taking something apart and seeing why you like it so much, or sometimes why you don't like it very much, whether that's a character or plot beat. And if you like to be, I don't know, a critic or reviewer or whatever you want to, call content creator these days,
Yeah.
I think that there's a lot of joy in dismantling something that you like in your mind and looking all the pieces and going, okay, so what does this part do? What if I tweak this part, if this part was slightly different, would I like it better? Or would I like it worse? Does this help the story? Does it not help the story? I think that's what's a lot of fun about art in general. Not to dive into AI stuff, but that's what's so much fun about human art made by people is that everything bounces off each other. It's fucking cool.
Intention.
Everybody has
Woo.
everybody has different assumptions and different experiences and different perspectives, and all that shit collides
and different preferences.
Yep, and it all comes into different reads for how you come out of a game or a book or a movie or whatever at the end.
I also think this is something that we talked about with Iro and that we've also just talked about on the podcast in general. And I don't know if it's quite like a thesis of the podcast, but it's definitely a theme that we've discussed, is that an ending has a huge effect on the story as a whole.
Yes.
A good ending has saved a game for us. That we were otherwise a little more down on. A bad ending.
Yeah, that's why we feel that way about Ace Attorney 5 instead of Ace Attorney 6. The ending of Ace Attorney 5 is fucking sick, whereas we don't feel as high on the ending of Ace Attorney 6.
Or to use an example, somebody in real life located my podcast and was like, "Oh, you didn't like BBC Sherlock? I'm not calling you out, but because I love you, but I explained my reasoning. I felt like the beginning was strong and then the ending was weak, and that took away from the story."
What?
My internet is struggling.
Okay.
Well, I hope that doesn't dilute my point that my internet is struggling. That
you're being censored right now.
Yeah, Comcast is actively.
You spoke ill of BBC Sherlock, and now they're coming to get you.
I will kill you, Stephen Moffat. Kill you.
So yes,
my
real threat. Meet me in the ring.
Here's my defense of whatever opinion I may have had in the past. I'm absolutely confident in the point that I made until I'm proven wrong, and then at that point I'll be like, okay, good point. I'd rather be.
I'm confident in my point until I'm given more information with which I can use to change my mind.
Dude, I love being multifaceted. I love having depth. I love growing and learning. And I love hating and loving.
It's okay to have opinions that change from beginning to end.
A year ago, I would have killed
point.
Sherlock Holmes in a bizarre mousetrap-esque trap. And now I will build one with him.
Listeners, it's okay to be wrong.
Wow.
Damn shit.
Here's the thing.
Learn to admit that you're wrong.
They can also meet me in the ring. No, I love you guys, listeners. Thank you.
Yeah, no, I'm saying, I think one of the things I have to look at myself in some of these things when I say something like that. It's hard for people these days don't like to admit that they're wrong, and they like to sit and argue and bitch about something that they don't even know everything about. You gotta learn more stuff about it. You're allowed to change your mind.
I do like to do exactly that thing that you just described.
And to be clear, dear listener, this is not me trying to call any one specific person out. This is just me trying to talk about. This is the method, right? This is in learning and enjoying a thing, and this is why we've done this podcast in the first place. Is because it's a wild ride. It goes. You got ups and downs, and it's fun. And that's we love art. I guess is just the simplest way to put it. Creative people and the stuff that they create and the way it just ricochets off each other is really cool. So I hope that you've come away from this podcast, if there's anything that you've come away from this, is we do this with love for Ace Attorney. Anytime that we critique a plot line or a character beat, it's because done from a place of
passionately dislike something. It means you have to be passionate about something else in it.
Oh my god! If I didn't like this, I wouldn't be here.
Right? Exactly.
I would be not here. I'm so good at that. It'd be like, I don't like this book.
Right.
Goodbye forever.
The bricks.
Exactly. Hit the bricks. So we do this from a place of fondness and fascination with just creativity. And if you disagree, that's cool because it's art, and you can take different things from it than we do. So all I hope through this podcast is that you've just either been inspired to think about something slightly differently, or you go, well, you know what, I want to find other stuff like this, or find, hopefully it just leads you down new paths, right? Both artistically and media wise and just thinking, right? So not saying like I got the right ideas or anything, right? It's just there's just cool shit out there and we want to experience it. And this is my segue into what we are doing next on Updated Autopsy Report.
Oh shit, forgot about that.
So it's time to finally announce it. We've been dragging it out for a long time and teasing it. And I'm going to tell you guys, we are doing next is something I'm calling Ace Attorney Inspirations, which is where we cover books, movies, TV, games, and other media that has inspired and directly influenced Ace Attorney. So instead of one specific game series or anything like that, we are instead going to tackle a large variety of stuff that is either things that Takumi has directly talked about as being influential, things that he's grown up reading or enjoying, or is just in the culture. Like it's just so enculturated in, say, murder mysteries or adventure games or visual novels, all that stuff that kind of all was in the soup, in the mix, influencing the people who worked on Ace Attorney. So we'll have a huge variety of stuff coming up that will range from, let's see here. I'm going to pull up my list of things because I've got a list with already over 50 different things for us to potentially cover. And that will range from things such as Maurice LeBlanc's Arsène Lupin, or perhaps Columbo,
Yippee!
or perhaps John Dixon Carr mysteries, Agatha Christie, or Edogawa Ranpo. So there's a lot of stuff that we have coming up here, and we're going to do, like I said, books, movies, TV. We have a big variety, and we will let you all know, like, one episode in advance what we're going to do next. I don't think we're going to have a huge calendar way out in advance for everything. We're going to just kind of plan it out a month or so, and go from there. And we will kind of let the media guide us. We will have a general, kind of guide. Sorry, I'm using that word a second time in a row. We have a general guide for where we want to go, but there will be, if we feel the pull one way or the other, and we're like, you know what, we could really go for X this next week, we're going to do that so that we don't get bored and we have always something interesting that will have us excited to talk about it next week. We originally thought that maybe we would just do a whole segment on, say, G.K. Chesterton's Father Brown for a month or two. But we didn't want to get too, too much malaise or bored with it. So we thought, well, we'll sprinkle everything out the whole way.
Malaise is such a good word.
And hopefully we'll be learning even more new words, because first up, for our very first thing that we're going to be covering will be, of course, none other than the original, the classic, jumping right from Great Ace Attorney into Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's very first novel featuring Sherlock Holmes, A Study in Scarlet.
Hey!
Yippee!
So guess who gets to be the expert this time? It's Rose.
Oh, I'm so glad that I, earlier in the podcast, rambled about A Study in Scarlet for a while just to hype everybody up.
It was a secret teaser for what we had coming
I didn't
next,
know I was doing it at the time.
So yes, that will be the next thing we cover. So if you would like to continue doing what you've been doing, if you've been playing along with us throughout all the games, which a lot of people have said they have, we'd be thrilled if you wanted to do that with us next. I realize that this is not specifically Ace Attorney related, but I feel like this is the closest thing that we can get to Ace Attorney without just, say, watching the
Playing a different
anime
game.
or whatever, right?
This is good because I've been telling my parents it's a book club the entire time, so now it gets to be true.
Right. So we're very excited to tackle a whole bunch of things, and I've been talking to some, guests as well, and showing them some of the lists of things that we've got coming up. So hopefully we might occasionally have somebody show up who really loves the book or movie that we're covering that week and can talk about it as well and kind of be our, surprise guest expert as well. So that's the plan. So I hope that you will enjoy all that and read along with us and stick with us as we embark on this new chapter for Updated Autopsy Report. Anybody have any other notes before we wrap up here?
Nah.
Oh, man. Now I'm...
Congratulations, Capcom, on a successful Monster Hunter.
Yeah, I hope you guys are enjoying Monster Hunter. I'm not. My computer, not strong enough. Me, personally, also not strong enough.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I said I wasn't going to get emotional in the last episode, and I'm definitely not going to do it this time, but it does feel like, we did so much, and it's still wild to me that, people are, playing along with us and, listening to us at work, and that's, crazy to me because I listen to podcasts at work,
Yeah,
why is somebody else
I listen to them.
Yeah. So it's wild to think about, and it's been such a fun journey just to goof around with my friends, and hopefully, somewhere else, so somebody got a laugh out of it, and that's pretty crazy to me. So, thank you for coming with us, and now I'm obsessed with Ace Attorney, so watch out, I guess.
Yep, we've been indoctrinated.
Yep.
And yeah, it's been really such a blast. Not to get too sappy, but we've been thrilled that everybody has been listening and enjoying the show along with us. And I know we're kind of taking a risk by doing something not explicitly mainstream or video gamey, or I don't know, saying oh yeah, we're gonna read some Sherlock Holmes and Edogawa Rampo and maybe watch a Columbo episode sometimes. I know
we can still play a video game. I do want to do a Myst stream would be fun.
We have Myst on the list because
it is on the list. All right, Freddy
it's
Fish,
on the
then.
list because Takumi said that it was influential to him, so it's on the list along with a couple other games that he mentioned in the past. So there won't be no video games here, to be clear. But
I gotta figure out which of my 12 copies of Myst we should play.
Well, we'll figure all that out in the future as we continue this next journey. And hey, if Capcom surprises us and releases a new Ace Attorney game, then we will adjust our schedule to fit that in when that comes out and cover that when it arrives. But otherwise, until then, we'll be doing this. So I think that will do it for us this week, folks. I am going to read a review from our Apple Podcast page. We got one from Master Sherbet.
Oh, that's a cool username.
Who says, "Thank you all. I've been listening to you guys ever since I finished playing the series and wanted a podcast to fill the Ace Attorney shaped hole in my heart. It's been a blast to tune in every other week to hear your opinions on them. I've loved hearing Rose and Tiago's predictions, knowing how close or how far off the mark they were. I've loved hearing your different opinions on characters I loved, Sholmes and Van Ziek specifically, and thinking about them from new points of view. But most of all, I've loved listening in to two longtime fans and two newcomers talk, banter, and laugh about a series near and dear to them, to me as well. Can't wait to see what you guys do next." That's a very sweet review and perfect to have on this episode in particular, Master Sherbet. So thank you so much for that review. If you leave a review on our Apple Podcasts page, 5-star review, I might read it on the air, just like I did that one. So please do that. It really does help get the word out there and shares the show to new people. Talking about our show and sharing it with other people is the only way we get it out there, because obviously I'm not out there advertising this. I'm not paying for ads on Instagram or whatever. So yes, that is the only way that we get new listeners. You can keep up with the show via our website, updatedautopsy.report, which has links to everything we do, all of our social media. You can watch our entire bank of Let's Plays with Dessy and I playing through the games at youtube.com/@Yotsuben. Obviously, that's wrapped up now, but it covers every single game. It's all there. And we will be doing occasional Let's Plays of other visual novels and mystery games there in the future, that whenever that sparks our fancy. So, you can still subscribe and keep an eye on future things there. You can follow me on all social media, pretty much just Blue Sky, though, really, at Yotsuben. Yotsuben. Excuse me. It's been a long day. I'm starting to hit my limit.
Mm-hmm.
Dessy, where can people find you?
Dessy on Blue Sky, because I got that in early. If you want to see only Transformers right now.
It's Transformers time exclusively.
Yeah. And Tiago?
You can find me at Tiago Astuccia on various social medias, including Blue Sky.
And Rose.
Yeah, you can also find me at Blue Sky at Rose Nonsense, where I'm just sort of hanging out.
Nonsensical.
Yeah. And also at Tiago's new apartment, where I'm actively hanging out now.
Yeah.
Because Tiago has successfully moved. And we now live close to each other, and now he will never get rid of me.
Oh, okay.
Well, you can lock the door. I can't get in.
Oh, there we go.
That'll work.
This is new for you. I understand you'll have to learn this, Tiago. But yes, you do have to lock the door
No, he knows
to prevent
to
people
lock.
from getting in.
Doors, huh?
Yeah.
You locked the door, right?
I lock my door. Yes, I do lock my doors. What the, don't
Yeah, how
do
else is
this.
it gonna keep me out?
I lock doors on the regular.
It's good to lock your doors, folks.
Anytime I just walk through any old door, I just try to lock it if I can.
Huh?
Who knows who might be behind
Yeah, if you see
me.
a door, you should.
God, Larry coded.
If you see a door, try to open it.
I mean, your new apartment building, the hallway does kind of remind me of like a horror game where you're just like walking down a hallway and you're like, all these are locked, right?
Yeah, they should be.
I mean,
That's
and
not
they
a
are
real
because
door.
like,
That's just a texture.
they are because people live there, but like it looks like that.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah. And that's where you'll find me for now, and maybe you'll find me somewhere else sometime soon.
All right.
Yeah.
Is that ominous foreshadowing?
I mean, it might be a little bit of ominous foreshadowing.
Okay.
I mean, if you follow me on Blue Sky, you'll notice a lot of pro-union content appearing, maybe some contract negotiation discussions starting to appear. So we'll see how things go for me here. So I might also become insufferable to follow here, but we'll make it work.
All right. Well, hope that goes well. Thank you so much for listening, everybody. Again, we hope you'll rate and review us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcast platform. And next time, we will be discussing Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's first novel featuring Sherlock Holmes, A Study in Scarlet.
Ooh.
See you next time. Bye.
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 I feel like we're saying goodbye forever, but we're just gonna see
Bye
them in
forever.
2 weeks.
We're gonna see them in 2 weeks just with something new. Like we've been doing this for a
Yeah,
while.
it's really not actually gonna be that different.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I felt like I kind of had a journey here because now I'm like literally in a new apartment after
Yeah.
getting like changing careers and shit. kind of grew
That's
up with this whole
true.
fucking thing.
You did so much over the course of this podcast.
Strange
That's true.
that Phoenix Wright was there.
You took charge of your life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're killing it. 10
I'm
out of
so
10.
exhausted right now.
Oh.
That's okay. We could. Did you stop recording? We can stop recording.
No, I did not hit stop recording yet. I'll stop now.
Okay. All right. Stop recording.
Stop.
Oh, man. Siri, shut that shit off.
Xbox.
Oh,
Shut up.
Siri actually activated it.
You'll need to